This episode is sponsored by Fraze Flowers, a Western New York family-run flower farm and floral preservationist. They offer unique and one-of-a-kind pressed flowers in the shape of buffaloes. Every buffalo is handcrafted, and because they are made with flowers, each one has its own look and personality.
You can get a hold of them on their website at fraseflowers.com. That's Frase flowers.com. Or check them out on Facebook and Instagram. Bring more joy and color into your life at Frase Flowers. What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, April 18th, 2025. As always, I'm PK alongside my co-host Phil, episode 352. It is a busy weekend for us. We got I'm off on Friday, so when you're listening to this, hopefully on Friday, I am not working. Saturday, we got a lot of house projects to do, along with watching the Bandits meaningless game that we'll dive into, and then we also have Easter. We're celebrating Easter on Saturday, so a few of my cousins can make it because they got to make the long trek back to where they live now, which is like more eastern New York now, or southern out there somewhere, not Western New York. And Sunday, we're going to be very busy. I did break the news to you after recording last episode, and we got Easter on Sunday, which everybody's celebrating, hopefully with your family, friends, however you're celebrating it. Brooke and I are going to be fostering 3 puppies, 12 to 14 weeks old. There was a litter of 9, and we're taking 1/3 of them. So it's gonna be chaotic in the PK household moving forward. We've had 2 before, we've never had 3, and 2, surprisingly, if you never had puppy, I know you're a cat guy. If you never had puppies, it's strange to say, but 2 was actually easier to manage than 1 because they keep themselves occupied. So you don't have to watch 1. Yes, if they wander off, it's watching 2 instead of 1, but it'll be interesting how 3 goes. We've never had 3, so each time we're up in the ante a little bit more. So yeah, we're going to be welcoming 3 puppies. So maybe not next episode because we're recording before we get the puppies, but maybe the following one for the Bandits playoff. Maybe 1, 2, or all 3 of them will make an appearance of the BSC.
I was saying it's also the first time you're fostering in your new home as well.
Yep.
And your new home has an interesting layout, so I feel like they'll be able to get lost very quickly and easily if they want to.
Yes, a lot of nooks and crannies, a lot of floral space, but the flooring that we did lay down is water and puppy proof. It's scratch proof, so it's we purposely picked the floor. I should say, Brooke purposely picked the floor for animals in the household, and then on top of the 3 puppies we're bringing in, not this weekend, but the following weekend, we're going to be watching her sister, my sister-in-law's dog. So we'll have 6 dogs in the house for 6 days, 7 days.
Yeah, it's a long time to have 6 or 7 days, 6 dogs. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, well, we'll get used to it. Maybe they'll all keep themselves occupied, and we're going to be outnumbered by 3 to 1. Yeah, 3 to 1. 3 to 1.
2 to 1? 3 to 1.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. So if you want to send your well wishes over to the PK household, you can let us know on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. We're everywhere: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Odyssey. We're literally everywhere, so it's not hard to find us. You can check out our store on our link tree, or on the social media sites, top of the website by hitting the shop tab. You can represent the BSC on the go. I'm going a little bit out of order. You can check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's article came out on Tuesday, breaking down Bandits' win over Halifax that clinches up and locks up the number 1 seed. My final power rankings for this season, week 21, came out on Thursday. Give both of those a read while you're on the same website, and look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. Sabres had 2 more games to go before or since our last episode. We're going to be talking about one because the last one is happening right now. They couldn't have happened on Wednesday and we could have been done with the season. But Tuesday they lost to Toronto at home, technically at home, 4-0. UPL 28 of 31. This one was not his fault. 35 of 32 or 35 to 32 in shots favor of Buffalo, over 2 on the power play. Before the Thursday night game, which I believe they're winning 1-0 as of this recording, they're sitting 35, 39, and 7, good for 77 points. So that means their quest for 80 is impossible. They're on a 4-game losing streak as of this recording. But this is the big difference here. Prior years, they struggled at home so much, and they were road warriors. This year, it's flipped. They were 22, 15, and 3 at home as of this recording. They're 13, 24, and 4 on the road. Goal differential, minus 21. They've lost 4 straight. That is why they couldn't get to 80 points on the year. And locker room cleanout, I believe, is Friday or Saturday. I can't remember which day. Who cares? But it sounds like everybody's going to be coming back. At the very least, change some assistant coaches. I don't know. It's goaltending and special teams were the reason that this team is sitting where they are right now. And I am nervous for the future. Although I've said for month or two now, they're never making playoffs again. So going in with a different mindset this offseason and next season in general. But a very disappointing season compared to where my hopes were, stupidly, again, for the 14th straight season.
Yeah, I think the key to being a Sabres fan moving forward is to be pleasantly surprised than let down. Go in expecting last place, not making playoffs, team's horrible, and if they do make playoffs, you're like, whoa, what a shock, this is amazing. Not, hey, this team can possibly have a shot at making playoffs. Oh, wait, they're still the Sabres, and it's been 14 straight years. Never mind, and I was fooled again. Yeah, can't wait for it to be over. Excited about that. I mean, I am happy, like you mentioned, I think it was on the last episode, that at least they are winning at home, so the people that do pay to go watch the Sabres, if you're still into that, at least for the most part, they went above 500 for that. So it is nice that they won more home games this year than away games. If they're going to lose, I'd rather have it be away. But 13 and 24 away is a little bit too far into a swing. So, yeah, get better, be better, and go Bills.
Yeah, we'll kind of wrap up the Sabres season with this final game on the next show, and then we'll find some time between the Bandits playoff previews and playoff game reaction to kind of break down how our bold predictions looked and do our nominees for the Sabres season, and then hand out some awards. So we'll find time to squeeze those in. It's a little bit easier for the Bills to do that because it's the beginning of the season for the Bandits. And since we're a Bandits Central podcast, it's tougher when playoffs and it's just all happening at the same time. It could have been easier if they just would have finished the season Wednesday instead of today on Thursday. But that will conclude the Sabres section of this. And for all you Bandits fans, now you can start tuning in again. Like I said, descriptions, time stamps are in the description of the show. We'll move on. BSC update. 1 week to go, and we have a new leader in the clubhouse. Phil has finally overtaken Jackson B by just 2 points. So our own co-host here, Phil, is up to number 1. Jackson B slips down to number 2. The difference is 2 points with 1 game to go. I shoot back up to 3rd place with 12:32. Tim K falls down to 4th at 12:18. And then we have a 2-way tie for 5th. Kim D and my wife Brooke, 12:06, locking down the top 6. In 7th is Chris M, 11:54. Stacy K moves up 1 spot to 8th at 11:25. Mike D falls down 1 spot to 9th at 11:23. And John B rounds out the top 10, 11:14.
Yeah, I do not think I'm going to be able to hold this little lead I got here, but being in first, finally, after looking up for so long, even if it doesn't hold, I'll take it. I'll take the first place one time. Has Jackson B been in first the entire season?
I'll have to look back. He's been on it for at least 10 straight weeks. It's
so,
been a long reign.
Nice to knock off the king for at least a week. I don't know if I'll be able to hold unless Dawson gets another assist mixed in there or another 5 block performance and Farrell doesn't do much. We'll see. We'll see. I really don't think I'll be able to hold it, but I am happy to be number one. It's been, I want to say lonely being two, but it hasn't really been that way. It's been nice being two, but you just got to take first every once in a while.
This could be like the equivalent. This is like a history, dialing back to our hypothetical history days where we were historians. I think Ronald Reagan had surgery at one point, like after he got shot or something like that. So temporarily, the VP was the president of the United States. That feels similar to this. Like, he's still the king right now.
Yeah,
it's just he's having some type of surgery and you're holding the reins for a week. But you never know. You never know what week or game 18 will bring. Producer Pat is up one spot to 17th, so he's right smack dab in the middle of the standings. And then our biggest riser was Steven S., up 3 spots into the top 20. But that will conclude this week's BSC update. We got one game to go. And again, big thank you to everybody that's participating in this. It's been a very wild success. And we're looking forward to bringing it back bigger than ever next season for Season 2 of the BSC Bandits Fantasy game. We'll move on. Phil, I'm going to let you take away with this because I know you have 2 things to address. I'm just going to sit back, enjoy, and listen away as Phil gets a little nice, I don't even know if you call it a rant. We'll see what he's got in store here.
No, I'm pretty calm. The first one is the Dylan Robinson suspension. I'm going to start with that one. The big thing for me, I do think it was a worthy one-game suspension. I have absolutely no problem with the suspension, and I'm happy the league gave one. My thing with this is I want to see, like, if this is a precedent that was set for this, like this kind of hit deserves a one-game suspension. I think they should be dishing out more single-game suspensions to try to, stop people from hitting other players in the head, especially when it comes to player safety. So the big thing for me is this going to be an outlier where we see similar hits not given a suspension, and that is going to be upsetting that the league's not being consistent with it, or is this the start of more suspensions for hits to the head? Honestly, I hope it's for more suspensions because, again, it's a big, massive player safety issue, and I hope they are taking it more seriously. Not that they haven't been before. I think they're doing a fine job. But if this is the kind of direction they're going to take to give a suspension for a hit like that, I'd like to see it across the league be more of a thing. I don't know if you saw, I don't even think it was a 5-minute major. I forgot to go back and look, but did you see Hannah's incredible goal that he had where he also got his face demolished as he scored one-handed? Like, I don't even know if that was a 5-minute major to begin with, but like that hit, different than Dylan Robinson's, but that was brutal. He went head first, knew what he was doing, charged Hannah, and threw his elbow up, and it was direct head-to-head, like head-to-shoulder contact. It was a really nasty hit. I'm surprised Hannah got up as quickly as he did. But to me, and again, Dylan Robinson's was a different kind of situation, but to me, those are both vicious hits to the head. I'll just put it that way. And like, I just want to see the league be more consistent about suspensions in the future when it comes to 5-minute majors and then those turning, especially hits to the head, turning into suspensions. I'm okay with it. I was fine with what Dylan Robinson got. I'm just hoping this is more of a trend and not an outlier. And then if it is an outlier, why did Dylan Robinson get a suspension for this if other similar hits are not getting them? It's going to be the next question, I guess.
I think it's going to be an outlier because it wasn't just a hit to the head. It was a hit to the back of the neck when it was a dead ball after he scored in front of the net.
It has to be a similar situation.
Yeah. So I think in play type of hits to the head, I would like to see them hand out more 5-minute majors. I think that will do more to take it out of the game than suspensions in general, because suspensions you can plan for. 5-minute majors happen in game and can cost your team, and the best way to get these kind of hits out of the game is to penalize the team, and then the player is affected by the team losing because you're sitting on a 5-minute major where they can score 2 goals on the power play. But I do agree that any type of dead ball fouls like that or that are direct shots to the head, yes, start handing out 1-game suspension. So with the Hannah situation, I think that deserved a 5-minute major moving forward. And moving forward, I would like to see them be less leeway when it comes to hits to the head. If you really are player safety, those type of hits to the head. And again, sometimes it's very difficult to be out of the way. And if somebody is ducking their head at the last minute, a lot of it is also on the players with the ball. That it's the same with hockey. When you're getting hit from behind on the boards, you have to know your surroundings. So that's why I do like that there is a 5-minute major. Every 5-minute major is reviewed. That way, okay, this player was going into the corner, they saw the guy coming, and they ducked their head on purpose. So I do think that they, moving forward, and I think they have handed out a lot more 5-minute majors since that replay system came into effect, because they're able to double check. So I do like that system. I just think that if you hand out more for hits to the head, it will be taken more and more seriously by the players. I'm not saying anybody's head hunting, but it is something that you need to get out of the game for player safety.
Yeah, I don't know which game I was watching, kind of randomly off to the side, but I was watching one and there was a 5-minute major and it went back to being reviewed, and it ended up being that the player hit the shoulder first and then rode the shoulder up into the head, and they reduced it. And I completely agree that, like, I do think 5-minute majors have gone up, and I love the fact that they review them to clarify what actually happened, because, I mean, like you said, I know it slows the game down, which is the rough part about it, but I'd rather have more 5-minute majors thrown out there for players' safety, especially most of these guys have 2 jobs. They can't be having concussions for, concussion symptoms for 2, 3, 4 weeks and be out of work. That's not really going to work. So I do like what they're doing there. And then the other thing was, I know you didn't really want to talk about it too much. We don't have to get into it too much, but long story short, the Big Shock sticker value of the tickets went way up for playoffs. I know there was a lot of people pretty upset about it, but I mean, the Bandits are doing extremely well. They are now hoping to go for their 5th straight finals. Things are going to get more expensive the more that people go, and the more we want this league to be a big name league, a big league in general, a league that has more money to do something with, the tickets are going to keep going up and up. And I know a lot of people that go to Bandits games go for the value, but even with the increase in ticket price and even still the season tickets, even with that increase, there's still an extreme value for what you get. I mean, your season ticket already included the first round, and then obviously these rounds are going to get more expensive, but I still think it's a great value. And if you need to tell yourself that, this money's going somewhere nice, even though who knows where it ends up, but if it makes you feel better that Dane Smith is personally being handed your extra $50, then do whatever you got to do. Tell yourself that it's okay. And next year, well, hypothetically, we'll say that they go to even just the finals this year. Next year, it's going to be even more expensive. And especially with how popular this team is, the team knows they can make a lot of extra money while they are selling out playoff tickets. So it's going to keep happening, but for the most part, it's still an extreme value to go to these games. It's okay. It's just part of the way the world works, and it is what it is. Tickets are going to keep going up, but we're going to keep paying them because we love the team.
Yeah, I know the majority of the people that are speaking out towards it are the minority when it comes to this, and I don't really have to explain myself. Supply and demand, there's been 5 sellouts. They're averaging over 18,000 fans. There's not much supply there, and the demand is great. So when that happens, they can charge more. And yes, when you want the league to grow, you want the players to make more money, when you want this to take off and have more coverage, things are going to get more expensive because the demand is there. It's very simple. It's supply and demand. I don't know how else to explain it. Think of it like this. If you want the players to make more money and make this a full-time job for the players, we're always a players first type of show. We want the players to get as much money regardless of the sport they play. They can take this to the CBA conversations this offseason when the sales for a lot of these teams in week 21 here with the players, like Vancouver's going to be they finally opened the upper bowl, like for the first time in their history in Vancouver. Take that to the CBA negotiations. What Buffalo's doing, take it to the CBA negotiations and saying, hey, revenues are growing here. I don't know what the revenues actually are, but they can have this in their back pocket. So yes, you're paying more. It was already extremely discounted. The prices that are already there, extremely discounted. Go spend your money elsewhere if you don't want to go to the game. But there's going to be somebody that replaces you and takes those tickets because the demand is there. So my advice, if you're not a season ticket holder, be a season ticket holder next year. You see the giant difference. You save so much money in the playoffs, and Buffalo is going to be a playoff destination for many, many more years. So if you really want to go to all these games and save some money, be a season ticket holder. I'm sure there's plenty of seats available, but I'm not getting into more of it because it aggravates me, and that's why I've stayed off of social media all week, because people whining like this hurts my brain because they don't actually understand everything. But again, it's the minority of it. But before we dive into everything else, Phil, we're going to go over our first sponsor of the show already. Yes, it's already, because we're about 20 minutes into the show. As soon as I scroll down, because there's so many notes, we're going to go over our second sponsor of the show, which is Tap That Tap Room at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. It's Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar featuring 30 consistently rotating taps. They offer a variety of beers, ciders, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages.
PK, I am going to hit you with the usual suspect of events. We got happy hour on Friday from 3 to 7. We have the final Bandits watch party of the regular season. All TVs will have the sound on for game time, and this week they will once again have Orso Nero Pizza, I believe starting at 5:30 until the pizza is sold out. So if you're in the mood for pizza, you're in the mood for some drinks, and you're in the mood for the Buffalo Bandits, go watch the final regular season Buffalo Bandits watch party. And also, in case you're looking for an afternoon brew on Easter, they will indeed be open. To find out what other events they have coming up, check out their Facebook and Instagram. And to see what's on tap and what's on deck, head to tapthattaproom.com, where they have something
for everyone. I wanted to leave you in a little suspense there, see if I forgot.
I figured.
If you're not watching YouTube, you knew it was coming. If you're listening in your earbuds, you didn't know it was coming. So gotcha. My question to you before we dive into the preview, because we're going to fly through this preview because it really doesn't matter to Buffalo whatsoever. They're locked in the 1 seed. They were just playing spoiler for Georgia. There's 7 teams for 3 spots. There's 7 teams that could possibly sneak into that 8th spot right now. All these teams that I'm going to list right now are possibilities for next weekend's, not this coming weekend, next weekend's round 1 matchup on the 25th on Friday in Banditland. My question to you is, 1, who would you want Buffalo to face? And then the second question is, who wouldn't you want them to face? And all these options and the percentages of being the 8th seed, because I don't care who's the 7th and 6th and 5th seed right now, because it's one game at a time. Buffalo has a one and done round 1 opponent. Some of these options are likelier than others. So we'll start with the highest percentage right now. Ottawa has the highest percentage based on Evan Schemenauer's percentage. They're sitting at 34.4. The next is tied between San Diego and Albany at 15.6, then followed by Colorado 12.5, Calgary's at 10.9, Georgia 9.4, and then the last team, Philly, yes, Philly, who had an 8-game losing streak on a 2-game winning streak now because of Georgia, 1.6. But I think they need to win and have 4 other teams specifically lose to make the playoffs. So Phil, out of those 7 options, which team would you most like to see? And which team would you least like to see?
Yeah, we'll start with like to see. The team I want to see the most is Colorado right now. Yep. They are floundering. They've lost 4 straight. They are limping with their injuries. The Bandits just beat them in their own barn pretty easily and handily. Got the Bandits back on track for their own prep to playoffs. And Colorado is just, they're reeling right now. They are not ready for playoffs. I hope they make it, and I hope Buffalo gets to play them in Buffalo, especially because Colorado from the West would have to go all the way east. And not that they don't have a competitive edge. I'm not trying to say anything like that, but it seems like Colorado is just kind of accidentally given up on this season. I know the injuries are devastating, so they have a pretty good excuse as to why, but it seems like they just do not have it in them anymore to pull out these miracle wins like we used to see even when they had all their missing pieces. They used to still be able to kind of lock it down, find a way to win. It seems like that magic has dried up, and Colorado is just limping real badly. I don't see them making it because of that exact reason, but if they do find a way to make it in, I would love to see them in Buffalo.
Yeah, ditto. Pretty much for all the same reasons. I know Buffalo and Colorado have history, but as of recent history, Buffalo's kind of had the good edge on them. So Going into the playoffs, you want to be riding a high. Colorado is one of those few teams in this race right now that's riding a very low. So you want to face one of those teams. Again, Dylan Ward can steal you a game, but I just don't know if the defense in front of him. And yet, yes, last time they faced Colorado, Robert Hope was not in it. He was at the birth of his most recent child. I don't know. I'm not a father. I don't know how those phrases go. But his wife was having a kid at that same time. So he was away from the team for that. But I just don't trust Colorado's defense. Their offense can light it up when need to, even without some big-time players in Eli McLaughlin and Zed Williams. But yeah, Colorado would be my number one option. I think it would be followed by probably Philly, but Philly's chances are so low that I didn't put them in there. But which team would you least like Buffalo to face in round one? Mind you, the last time we did something like this, and I said I didn't want to face Albany, that was when they had Benesh and Rezataris and O'Connor and stuff like that. They ended up facing Albany, and it was like, I think 11-6 round one game. I think it was the year that they lost the championship. But Phil, which team would you least likely face?
Spoiler, it is Albany. I think Albany just plays Buffalo very tough. They've seen each other a lot over the last few years. Obviously, championship last year. Obviously, Albany would like some revenge on that. Albany's had a pretty decent run of a lot of really close games, so they're winning, but they're not winning by much. But the big thing with Albany, to me, is exactly what we saw against Buffalo not that long ago, is that Doug Jamieson can steal a game for them. I have full confidence and faith in playoff Matt Vince to steal the entire playoffs if he wants again, if he plays up to how he did last year, which was just absolutely incredible. So I'm not saying that Vince can't steal the game as well for Buffalo, but Jameson can absolutely steal the game for Albany, which we already saw. And I think their offense is good enough to keep up with Buffalo's, especially if Jameson puts up that kind of performance. And we've seen it. He has it in him, and he just recently did it against Buffalo. So with the history, with how Albany for some reason gets under Buffalo's skin in Bandit land, I could see it just going the wrong way if Albany got a lead early and then Buffalo started getting chippy because they're running their mouths kind of thing, get into penalty trouble. Jameson shuts it down and the Bandits are out of the playoffs. So I wouldn't say that Albany necessarily scares me. But as a first round opponent, I could see them stealing one in a one and done kind of situation.
So I have a different number one, but I will say that the other five teams, Calgary, San Diego, Georgia, Ottawa, and Albany, don't really, they all scare me for one way or another. But to me, my number one is Georgia. And it's kind of weird because Georgia faces Buffalo on Saturday here, but it's Brett Dobson, and with his career in Georgia, he's just been able to shut Buffalo's offense down. I mean, we'll go over it in a second, but Buffalo lost 9-8 in Game 3 last season because of Brett Dobson. They just couldn't beat him. In the playoffs in round one, everybody always says it, they were one goal away from not even making it back to the finals and not even getting out of round one. That was because of Brett Dobson. You might look at all the numbers this year, we'll go over them, and say, oh man, he's not the same goalie. It doesn't matter. Like, some goalies are just better in situations versus specific teams. And we'll see on Saturday night in a must-win for Georgia if Brad Dobson can pull that out of him again. We had Nick Kloss on the show on Wednesday to kind of go over everything with Georgia. Very good interview. Go listen to it. Plug our own stuff. But Brett Dobson will be the sole reason that Georgia wins on this Saturday, and if they make it to the playoffs and are facing Buffalo in round one, he is the main reason that I do not want to face Georgia whatsoever. And again, his numbers don't back up what I'm saying right now, but the prior history versus Brett Dobson, I do not want to see a Georgia-led team by Brett Dobson in round one in a one or done, because we saw it last year, didn't like it. It was very nerve-wracking, so I do not want to see it for 2 years straight.
Yeah, if you want to blow through some of the other ones real quick. I mean, Calgary's beat Buffalo this year. Yep. San Diego beat Buffalo this year. Yep. Ottawa has Jeff Teat.
Yep.
Is that everybody? I think so.
Yeah, that's everybody else.
Talked about Albany. Philly's not making it.
But we said that against Rochester too, and they made it last year. But Philly's not making it. There's no chance Philly's making it. It's zero. If I'm wrong, on the show on Sunday, on Easter, I will have Brooke tase me on the show. like live on the show, we'll record her coming in and tasing me if Philly makes the playoffs. That's how confident I am that they're not making playoffs.
But yeah, the biggest thing with round one to me is goaltenders for sure. Like you just mentioned with Dobson, like they are the ones. I mean, we've said it.
That's why I hate round one, but I love round one as an NL fan because the drama is just like that's why you need a star franchise elite stud of a goalie. That's why Vancouver went out and traded all the picks they did for Christian Del Bianco. You need a star goalie in this league if you want to win a championship and get out of the round one.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing with that is. A goalie can steal a game, but the goalie can also lose you a game and be the reason you're not in playoffs anymore. I mean, one down game from a goalie is all it takes, but also one incredibly heroic effort from a goalie, also all it takes in a one-game, one-and-done situation. So any of those teams with big goalies, I know Colorado was the team I wanted to play, and they do have Ward, but he's been not necessarily he's struggling, but the team as a whole is just they're in trouble. But some of those other teams definitely have great goaltending, like you said, Dobson. Origlieri, we'll see if he's healthy and back in time. Nick Rose, the Bandits have seen a ton of in playoffs. Ottawa with Higgins, Albany with Jameson. Philly's just Philly if they make it at all, which they won't.
Yeah, they've hung out all their goalies to dry, except Deacon not for whatever reason. Their defense came alive versus Georgia. But we'll start going over this preview. We're not going to go in super in-depth because anybody that's listening to this, they already know Buffalo's locked into the one. They win or lose, it doesn't matter. They're locked into
one. It's all
one.
about records.
Yeah. Buffalo's coming in 13-4. Georgia 8-9. Buffalo's first in goals. Georgia's 7th. Buffalo's third in goals against. Georgia's 11th. Power plays, both 41 and 42%. Penalty kills are very similar, 6th and 9th, respectively. Last year, you had that 9-8 game. It was our first time up in the box, and you and I are sitting next to each other just going, they can't beat Brett Dobson. Like, we're going to have to sit in this first press conference with an L. But yeah,
and we did.
It was a very close game. Georgia was up 4-3 at half. It was tied 5-5. Buffalo would score 2 in the fourth, but Georgia would score 4 straight. Nanticoke would score to get it within 1 with 22 seconds to go. And then what we always say, McKay won the faceoff when you needed to win it, and they just couldn't beat Dobson. And then the second game, it was the round one of the playoffs. It was 10-9 victory in overtime off Josh Burns' game winner. 2-1 after one, 5-5 at half. Buffalo would score 3 straight in the third. Georgia would score 4 straight at the end of the third into the fourth, and Bucky would tie it with 5:51 to go, and then 3:01 in overtime, Josh Byrne would win it. But these teams are a little bit different. These two teams are very... It's weird. All season long, we've been kind of going over what these teams look like last year and this year. It's kind of similar. Like, all the main pieces for both these teams are still here. So that is one thing that you can hang your hat on going into this game is, and possibly a round one matchup, is a lot of the pieces that were there last year are also there this year. And the main reason for Georgia, I've already mentioned him, Brett Dobson. I'm going to keep mentioning him nonstop in this one because if you face him in round one, I can't say it enough. Brett Dobson terrifies me, and you should see these two as an example. He's only let in 18 goals between those two games last year, and a lot of those are ones that, were pretty excellent shots by the Buffalo Bandits.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that, I don't know, this team's just so weird still. I feel like, I don't know why I want them to be better. Like, I have no stakes in Georgia whatsoever, but maybe it is, as you've mentioned the last few shows here with them, that for their fan base's sake, I'd like them to be better just because they're always teetering on that good enough to make playoffs, not good enough to do anything.
Buffalo Bills drought territory.
Yes.
They're not bad enough to get a high draft pick and to get a game changer, but they're not good enough to win a championship. And it's just, I asked Nick on the interview on Wednesday, like, okay, round one exit or miss playoffs? Is there going to be changes to something moving next season? Not even in the coaching or front office, and not even like the core, but there's 4 draft picks. And again, we'll talk about this all in the offseason, but top 4 draft picks from last draft haven't even played a single second on this team. You got 2 rookies that are kind of pushing their way in. Does this core change, or do they try to run it back like Toronto did? And to me, I have no stake in this, whatever, but what I would show Georgia is exactly what happened to Toronto. And you might want to use injuries or whatever as your excuse. They scored 5 goals in game 1 with a full forward group. You should have known what you were doing. Even Jamie Dowick said, if we start 0-5, whatever. You prepare for that. You don't just run it back and say, hey, if we start 0-5, we're going to have to go on a long winning streak here. Just saying. Georgia, use Toronto as an example. Don't be the Rock. Be different.
And yeah, I mean, this team, similar to Colorado, has been doing their best to not make playoffs. Like a lot of these bubble teams, for some reason, are really trying. And again, I just think everyone's scared of Buffalo, and they don't want to deal with it. They don't want it. Nobody wants that last playoff spot to go up against Buffalo. But yeah, Georgia's they're interesting. It is a team, though, like you said, has a lot of talent, could steal a game, has played Buffalo very, very well, similar to meet as Albany recently, but there's been a few, like Georgia's not really a rival by any means, but because they've played Buffalo so close and so well, especially with that playoff game, I think it is going to be interesting. But with Buffalo having nothing at stake, it's hard to know where their heart's going to be. I mean, are they going to be going full on, or are they just trying to get healthy and make playoffs?
So we're going to run through all the players to know. Again, we're not going to spend too much time on this. We just want you to know these players. Torrin Eccleston, he was a electric rookie in the middle part of the season. I think he had back-to-back 4-goal games. He was on the IR last week, so we'll see if he plays in this one. Shane Jackson has completely turned his season around because I was bad-mouthing him at the beginning of it, and even Nick Klaus said he came in kind of injured, so I feel a little bit bad now, but you didn't publicize that, so I can only say what I see. Andrew Q continues to be a primetime, like, when the stakes are the highest, he comes up. And then Brian Cole is your Ian McKay this year, where he went from transition to a full-time forward and 33 goals. He's pretty much exactly what Ian McKay is. For the righties, Caleb Benedict, I was excited to see him last year, and I'm excited to see him in this game and the little bit of action he's shown this year. Brendan Bomberry's up there. Miles Thompson has been in and out of the lineup with 9 games played. And then Lyle Thompson, of course. Lyle Thompson is still there. So the forwards, they have skill and they have a ton of talent. They just haven't been able to put the ball in the back of the net enough, sitting 7th in the league.
Yeah, this offense is, like you said, it's talented, but I don't know if it's a chemistry problem, if it's just the system that they're running doesn't work for what they have. Something is a little bit off, or they just don't have enough depth of talent. They have a couple of stars for sure, and Thompson and Shane Jackson, who, like you said, turned it around. Q, obviously doing well as well, but they don't have, like Thompson is their star, and he's beyond incredible, but they don't have a secondary star to him to be at that level. Shane Jackson's having a very good comeback season, especially since he's been healthy. So since then, they've had Jackson, if you want to take kind of his second half of his season, but they don't have the true 1A, 1B, and it's really difficult to compare everyone to Buffalo because very few teams have. There's 3, as we've discovered recently, that there's 3 pretty much ridiculous dynamic duos in the league, but other teams that don't have that have a lot of depth talent. And I think this team's missing just another edge kind of player, another depth player that is really, really good. Like we see the Rush has, yes, they have some very talented players, but they don't have anyone like a Dane Smith or a Josh Byrne. They don't have that ridiculously top tier elite talent, but a lot of the Rush's team is up there in the 80s, 70s, 60s of points because they are so good. So I don't know if this team is simply missing a piece or if the system they are playing just cannot give them enough consistency. Because we've seen this offense put up big numbers throughout the season. And you're like, okay, there it is. Like, that's the team that we need Georgia to be. And then they'll go out there and just drop a, 8-goal game. You're like, okay, what just happened? Like, why? Like, just the consistency for Georgia, which has been the biggest thing all season with them, is just who is Georgia? Same with Ottawa. They are pretty much, to me, mirror image teams of sometimes they're playing extremely good and playing top talent like it's nothing, and they're putting up a lot of goals, and then other games they lose 9-8, other games they get kind of blown out. So the consistency for Georgia hasn't been there, but the question is, what is missing from this offense to be consistent? The pieces have shown that they can work together, they can put up big numbers, but for some reason it just isn't there game in and game out.
Yeah, to me the biggest issue with Georgia is they are trying to win games 12-10, but I don't think they have the goaltending has not been good enough, and the transition and defense has not been good enough. And you're looking at Jordan McIntosh. He's been electric back there. 12 goals, 26 points. He's leading the team in loose balls, caused turnovers, and blocked shots. Got 41 shots on net in this one, so he's the dangerous one in transition. But beyond that, you're not getting a ton of guys that are scoring goals. Jeremy Thompson, Joey Capito, Adam Wiedemann, Mike Manley, Seth Van Scheppen comes over. He was supposed to be big in the transition game. He's kind of been more on the defensive side. So to me, that's part of the issue is just if you want to score, if you don't have that big time electric second piece to go with Lyle Thompson, you don't have that the bunch like Saskatchewan does, you need to get goals and production elsewhere, and Georgia hasn't been able to do that in transition games. So to me, if you're able to limit what Jordan McIntosh does in the transition game and limit their offense to 11, 12 goals, you should be able to beat Georgia. And that's been the issue with this is you're not getting big-time goal scoring from the forward group, and you're not getting any cheap goals, 2 or 3 in the transition game like you would get from the Halifaxes and from Saskatchewan and some of the bigger-time transition teams in the league.
Yeah, so it's pretty much a full team issue. They just don't have enough firepower to keep up with teams, especially like you said, when Dobson is struggling a little bit. Doesn't mean he'll struggle against Buffalo. He might come out and play amazing, but when he is struggling as a whole, especially with this defense struggling a little bit, if you aren't getting that ridiculously good defense, I mean, look at Toronto for the longest time. Like that's what Georgia seems to kind of want to be is we don't have an amazing offense, but we have a good offense, but we also have a great defense with transition and a solid goalie, but they're lacking pretty much all the way across the board to when Toronto was really, really good last year. So I think it's what they want to do and what they want to aim for as a team, but they just don't have the pieces to really pull it off just yet.
So the last one, Brett Dobson, we kind of went over him a bit. 11.87 goals against this year and a 76 save percentage. His numbers have gone down the last all 3 seasons. I'm not saying he's gotten figured out, nothing like that, but in this one, I'm terrified of him. I'm terrified of him in round 1 as well. He can definitely steal you a game. And if Georgia is going to beat Buffalo and get their way into the playoffs, Brett Dobson has to go beast mode. So to me, that is the number one key on this game is what type of Brett Dobson are you going to get? Are you going to get the Brett Dobson that we've seen all this year? There he's been so inconsistent, or are you going to see the Brett Dobson of last year that steals you games? So if he's on, I think Georgia wins this one. If he's off, I think Buffalo takes this one.
Yeah, and the big thing with him, which is something you say all the time, is try to score early. Yep. Get 3, 4, 5 in the first, and I think you're looking pretty for the rest of the way to kind of try to figure it out. If you let him settle in for the entire first half and he has, a 2-goal, 3-goal first half, that's where you're going to start getting into some trouble. So hopefully they can have a big first half against him and just kind of sink him early and just kind of take off from there. But if he builds confidence and is seeing everything really, really well in that first half, and he can pretty much lock it in and lock it down for the second half as well. So like you've mentioned, I don't think we say it too often, but this game's going to go how the goalie goes. If he's locked in and is playing out of his mind, he has the ability to steal a game. But if he's off, like you mentioned, like he's been a little bit inconsistent throughout the entire season, if we see that Dobson and the Bandits are whipping goals around really early, then it's probably going to go Buffalo's way.
So before we wrap up this preview, we're going to give out our third and final sponsor of the show, Totally Buffalo Store.
The Totally Buffalo Store, their mission is to celebrate all things Buffalo with over 100 local artisans. They are your place to go when you need a gift for a friend, a gift for Easter, a gift for Dingus Day, a gift for whatever you would like, or to grab something for yourself. They have 3 locations, 3328 Sheridan Drive in Amherst, 3459 Amelia Drive in Orchard Park, and 467 Center Street in Lewiston.
So it's the final weekend to prepare for Easter and Dingus Day. Load up on anything you might possibly need. They got clothing, decor, basket stuffers, whatever you need for those 2 holidays. Totally Buffalo Store has you covered. They also got something in that people have been asking for a while now. It's the Buffalo blanket, but in black and orange for you Bandits fans out there. So The weather is changing, but you still need blankets for nighttime. It is still a little crispy in the air with spring. It's one of those times where you got to wear a hoodie in the morning and then take it off in the afternoon. So go out there, get yourself a Buffalo blanket, support the boys in black and orange. But last but not least, Saturday, May 3rd, from 10 to 6 at the Lewiston location, 25% off the entire store to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. We're plugging it a little bit earlier so you know to get out there and celebrate their Lewiston location for their 1-year anniversary. 25% off the entire store, just that location though. So for all you Northtowners, we finally get something in the northern area, because it's always the southern tier that gets everything. But make sure you check out the Totally Buffalo store, their Facebook and Instagram page, and totallybuffalostore.com to find out what they got, because I say it every time I do these ad reads, you're not going to get this stuff at the big box stores. You're only going to get it at the Totally Buffalo store. For Phil, my last question before we give out our predictions, and we're already like 45 minutes into the show, so we'll get a little bit quicker here. How would you handle the lineup decisions moving into this week? I'll give you mine first. Anyone injured gets a break for me. And it's a little bit difficult because your practice roster is already being used a lot and you can only manage the list so much. But anybody that's got more severe nicks and bruises is sitting out for me. And top one on the top of my list is a guy that got hurt in the second shift. He went out and played, but he was going into that game questionable. He's already been questionable a lot this season. So Nanticoke comes out for me, and Lucas Nielsen goes in. Get Nanticoke healthy for the playoffs. Kluch, keep him out one more game. There's no point in him coming back in this one. Let him fully heal. I don't even know if he could come back for this one, but it's meaningless game. Don't play him. Keep Clay Scanlon there for one more week, then you can make the change in playoffs. Dylan Robinson is back in for anybody hurting. Maybe a Cam Wires, who's coming back and hasn't really looked the same since the injuries. Maybe it's a Paul Dawson. Maybe it's one of your veteran pieces out there. Give him a little bit of rest. And the last one, Matt Vince gets 3 quarters and then he's out. I don't care what the score is. I don't care if he's pitching a shutout. The third quarter ends, Matt Vince's butt's on the bench. I'm not taking any risk. I'm not having him take a whole week off, and then his first shots in 2 weeks in meaningful action are round 1. But I'm also not, playing him the entire game. I don't care what the score is. I don't care if you're trying to go for the win. Matt Vince, third quarter, his butt's on the bench. I don't care what he says. Put his butt on the bench. I'm not having somebody dive through the crease, take out his leg, and then your three-peat's over.
Yeah, I think he would also pull himself, but I would love to see him pulled if he's pitching a shutout 3 quarters in. Just 0 goals. Could go for the first ever NLL shutout in history. Like, nope, you're done. Get out.
He'll be part of history. It's going to be a combined shutout.
That's fair. The only thing I think I would change from any of that, I agree with all of it. We'll see if the veterans get, some shifts off for sure. We'll see if Dane especially, but Dane or Josh or both are trying to go after records for funsies, especially that assist record looking pretty beatable. But the only one that would be interesting to me to see, and it all 100% depends on what, out of 100%, what is he? Is he 90%? Is he 45, 50, 60%? But Cloutier would be the one that is interesting to me just because it'll be, his third week in a row off?
I believe so, yeah.
So that headed into a single game elimination coming back from an injury concerns me a little bit to go into a one-game do-or-die kind of... he's a vet. He knows what he's doing. I'm sure he can handle it. Not a big deal. But we've seen a lot of players come back from injuries, and they look off that first game. And Cloutier, I think, has been one of them this year where he's been out, came back, hasn't looked amazing, and then he's now out again. But, Wires is a huge example. Came back from an injury. Last 2 games, he's looked pretty bad, in our opinion. Hopefully he gets that fixed. But he'd be the one to me. If he's, 95 to 99%, I would wonder if they would get him in there, not for a full game, maybe even have Scanlon in there as well. I don't know how else you take out, but... try to get him some shifts, try to get him back up to speed a little bit before headed into playoffs. I just don't love the idea of him coming in after being out 3 weeks to a playoff situation. But at the same time, he's been with this forward group forever, and he's a veteran. So if they just threw him back in there, it's not like he's really going to be an issue. It's just more a little bit of an issue of rust, not necessarily chemistry or anything like that, but he could start that game a little slow and then kind of pick up from there. At the same time, I think the Buffalo staff trusts him 100%, and I think they trust this team to, no matter what happens, to just win round one because they're that good no matter who needs to step up. Or, if Cloutier comes back and has a bit of a rough game in his first game back and it's playoffs, I think there's plenty of players on the team that can pick it up. But he'd be the only one to me that I would possibly get in for a few shifts, but that's only if he's already pretty much 100%. If he's anywhere 95 and below, then yeah, absolutely sit him, get healthy. But everyone else you called out, I do agree with, and we'll see if some of the veterans on defense, like you said, like Dawson, maybe Buchanan, even if they do get Nielsen in the lineup, maybe Buchanan sits a couple extra shifts and they get some of these veteran guys just a little bit easier of a game.
Yeah, the only thing I disagree with Kluch is because of the role he's on this year, he's not one of those ones that depending on to shoot
goals and points.
That's more Ian McKay. That's more Josh Byrne. So if it was an Ian McKay, it was a Josh Byrne, it was a Buchanan type of player, I think you would want to shake off the rust. But because he's that bully bruiser this year, and that's why his numbers are a bit down. Anybody that's questioning any, but that's the only reason that I would be okay sitting him again. But we went over everything in this meaningless game for the Buffalo Bandits that they're just playing spoiler in and looking for some records. What is your prediction? Are you going them? You have not predicted them to lose a single game this year. So what is your prediction?
I did great. We said it a while ago that, with how they started the season, if you just pick them to win, you're going to do well more often than not. 13-4 is a good record.
I had them picked losing 4, so I'm closer than you, though. So
yeah. No, they're undefeated in my mind.
They only lost one of the games I predicted them to lose, though, so that's that.
They like defying your loss predictions.
Yeah.
This is just a very hard game to judge. I mean, what are the Bandits actually going to come out and do? They're playing a very desperate team who's trying to get into playoffs, who needs to win at Georgia's home. Georgia has everything in the world going for them because they need this, and the Bandits are just trying to stay healthy to get into playoffs. But the Bandits are also a really, really good team who's been on a bit of a heater to end the season. I could see them wanting to roll into playoffs on that hot streak. They've scored 15 goals in the last 2 games back to back. So to me, I think the Bandits are just simply too hot right now. I'm going to give them the win. I'm going 14-10.
14-10 victory for Buffalo. This is our 4th season covering them. Last year, Week 18, they won 14-5 over Vegas. The year before that, 16-10 win over Albany. And then the year before that, they lost 10-7 versus Toronto. I have them winning, but in a lower scoring affair, 10-8. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring, grinded-out game. Buffalo doesn't have a ton on the line. And if you're doing that math, yes, that likely means Dane Smith does not break the points record. That does not mean it would be very difficult for him to do that. But yeah, I got him 10-8. A low-scoring game, and Brett Dobson kind of stands on his head, but in a losing affair. So we will move on as we're winding down this episode to the milestone minute. Some of these ones, there's not a ton, but the ones that are there are very long. There's a ton of records that could possibly be broken for the NLL in this one. It's the fastest milestone, 2.5 minutes in this one. You can find all these possible milestones on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to each and every game. So if you missed one, when I lightning speed through this and you don't want to listen back, you can check for them there. Away we go. Steve Perillo is 5 penalty minutes away from tying Patrick Merrow for 8th place. This is like the 9th time I've read this. And 8th in NLL history, averages 2.41. Dane Smith is just 3 assists away from breaking his own NLL record for the 3rd straight season. He is also 1 point away from tying Sean Evans for 8th in a single NLL season. He's 2 away from tying Jeff Teat for 7th, 3 away from tying himself for 6th, 5 away from tying himself for 5th, 6 away from tying Josh Byrne and himself for 3rd, 7 away from tying Jeff Teat for 2nd, and 8 away from tying himself for 1st place. Josh Byrne is 1 assist away from tying Mark Matthews for 5th. He's 2 away from tying Ryan Lee for 6th. He's also 4 points away from tying Sean Evans for 8th. He's 5 away from tying Jeff Teat for 7th. 6 points away from tying Dane Smith for 6th. 8th away from tying Dane Smith for 5th. 9 away from tying himself and Dane Smith for 3rd, 10 away from setting a new career high and tying Jeff Teat for second, and 11 away from tying Dane Smith for 1st in NLL history. Matt Vince is 31 saves away from tying. This one's long. Buckle up. He's 31 saves away from tying Christian Del Bianco and Aaron Bold for 9th. He is 32 away from tying Ryan Lynn Hartley for 8th, 35 from tying Christian Del Bianco for 7th, and 48 away from tying Zach Higgins for 6th. This is the super long one. It's minutes played. Basically, if he plays the entire game, all 60 minutes, he will tie Christian Del Bianco for most minutes played in an NL season. Anything in between that, he moves up the leaderboard. I'm not going to go through all those. Go to X if you want to read them. If Matt Vince plays on or wins on Saturday, he will tie himself in 2019, 22, and 23 for second most wins in an NL season. Chase Frazier is 3 assists away from setting a new career high. Nick Weiss is 4 points away from setting a new career high. And Cam Wires 3 loose balls away from setting a new career high. If Ian McKay plays on Saturday, which he should, it'll be his 100th career NL game. Tehoka Nanticoke is 2 goals away from 100 for his career. Thomas Whitty is 5 loose balls away from 300 for his career. Chase Frazier is 4 goals away from tying Ryan Benesh for 6th place in Bandits history. Josh Byrne is 1 cause turnover away from tying David Brock for 10th. Connor Farrell is 7 faceoffs away from passing Micah Kersey for 6th place and 29 away from passing Max Adler for 5th. And he is 5 faceoff wins away from passing Corey Bomberry for 2nd place in Bandits history. And the last one, Josh Byrne is just 3 goals away from tying Sean Williams for 9th place in a single Bandits season.
I started watching the Bandits. You were at just under 2:30, so you were faster than 2:30. Good thing you didn't read the minutes one. About the minutes real quick, Vince has given up 12-19 to Orleman on the season. For those wondering how, like, where he's at in playing time as far as the record goes and how many minutes. I mean, you pretty much have to play every minute of every game to get the record, which he almost did. But yeah, being a Bandit fan and going to games a while ago, I was a wee lad when I started, and I do remember Corey Bomberry quite well, especially with his chant for scoring goals, and he had a really weird way of shooting. I loved it. He was like sidearm, down low, up high, and it was a rocket of a shot. But long story short, I did not know he did faceoffs, and let alone did faceoffs, but second in Bandits history for faceoffs. Don't remember that as a little one.
So we will wrap up this episode. There's 8 total games this week. Producer Pat is in the lead in the BSC Pick'em. Phil is in second, and I'm not even playing anymore. So we'll go over these other 7 games. All of them are very, very, very important, and they start Friday at 7. 10-7 Halifax, go to 5-11 Toronto. Phil, what do your eyes catch on this one?
Yeah, I did have Toronto in a random upset. I picked 4 games that I did not like picking, but it's the only way I can catch Pat. So I had to pick 4 games that he did not pick. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't believe in my picks, especially this one. I think Halifax is going to bounce back, take the win, and move on, be 11-7. I was going to say that would solidify them for third, but I don't know.
It would.
Okay.
Yep. Win in their third.
There you go.
Yep.
Are they still? They're still looking for home then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They can fall as far as 5th or 6th, I believe.
All right. Well, they're looking for a home game. Toronto, I don't know. They're just trying to end their season.
So we'll move forward to 10:30 games on Friday. The first one, 8-8 Calgary goes to 4-13 Vegas. Calgary is not locked up. They still got 2 games this week in the first one versus Vegas. They need to win this one. I believe if they win, they clinch. I believe. Just don't hold me to that. I haven't read all the scenarios. There's like 252 scenarios in this final week.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those 8-8 teams that do they want to make playoffs? I don't know. We'll find out. And, you lose to Vegas. It does not look like you really want to make playoffs. I know Vegas is playing for pride and playing at home, so there's something-ish to be said for that, but not really. Calgary should take this one. We'll see if Nick Rose can have another monster game if needed and take the win and get Calgary into playoffs.
So the final Friday game, this one will tell a lot when it comes to the standings looking forward on Saturday. 7-10 Albany, 8-9 San Diego. Winner is pretty much in the playoffs. Loser is done.
Yeah, for this one, I want San Diego. If they could win and end Albany and any risk of Buffalo playing Albany in the first round, that would be great. I don't know if they can do it, though. This one's a very interesting one. I think Albany's the hotter team between Albany and San Diego. San Diego is another team kind of crashing out and trying to not make playoffs. I don't really understand what they're doing or why they cannot seem to put it together. And I don't know if you have an update on O-Rig, but if he's
day-to-day. He's day-to-day.
I would assume he's going to play then because their playoffs are on the line. So I would assume he's going to find a way to get in between the pipes there. But even if he does, I think Albany could take this one. I think that, I don't know, San Diego's just been, like I said, crashing out a little bit. Albany's been a little bit hotter of a team. And we'll see. We'll see which one wants to make playoffs.
So the first game on Saturday is 6 p.m. Second of two games for Toronto, 5-11, goes to the 10-7 Rochester. Rochester needs to win and hope Halifax or Vancouver drops theirs to get the number or a home game in this playoff. So win and get a little help.
It would be nice to see Rochester get a home playoff game. I don't necessarily like Rochester all that much, but it would be nice to see them.
I want them to get to the third seed. I don't want to face them in round 2.
Deal. All right. Rochester, third seed, home game. Have fun. Don't want to see you. Toronto, really trying to end their season, and they got back-to-back games. So that is a bummer. It's going to be quite the grind for them to, get to the draft and their season, especially with their both teams they're playing are rough. They're rough games. I could see Toronto just kind of folding and falling over in this game against Rochester.
So Philly's season could be done by the time they face off 8 p.m. on Saturday, 7-10. They go to 10-7 Vancouver. Vancouver wins. They lock up the home game in Vancouver for the first time in their history. So a lot on the line here. Philly could be coming in with nothing to play for except not let Vancouver. Although if Rochester loses, Vancouver loses, they still lock up a number top 4 seed. So a lot to play for or nothing to play for in this game.
Yeah, Philly, I don't want to win. I think their 8-game losing streak and how we were right about them and everyone else was wrong seems to have really shown out there. Vancouver trying to continue their hot streaks, and CBD has entered the equation, trying to go 6-0 under Christian Del Bianco. That rhymes. They should, I don't know, it'd be cool to see them get a home game as well. First time in a bajillion years that they've even made playoffs, so it'd be cool for them to get a home game. They're a team I don't really want to see, though, in playoffs. I know they're obviously in it, going to make it, not saying that, but just don't want to see them all that much.
So 8-9 Ottawa heads to the 12-5 Saskatchewan Rush, Saturday, 9 p.m. There's 2 games at the same time, Phil. Sask got nothing to play for. Ottawa wins, and they're almost locked up into a playoff spot.
Yeah, I could see Sask resting, but it's a home game. So, again, similar to Buffalo, do you want to go into playoffs hot, continue riding high, and just not really fold over? But at the same time, you don't want to get injured. So the big thing with these 2 games with Buffalo and Georgia and Ottawa and Saskatchewan is if Ottawa or Georgia bring the physicality and bring the aggression and the desperation of they need to win to get into playoffs, which they do, I could see both Buffalo and Saskatchewan just saying like, all right, like we're not going to do that. We don't need anybody injured. So I could see the opposition getting the kind of upper hand as far as physicality goes, and that could lead to a gritty win by either of those teams. But if Buffalo and Saskatchewan just want to play loose, free, fun, and play the way they can, I could see both of them winning those games as well. So it'll be a wild end to that one, especially with the 2 teams not needing anything, but could still possibly pull it out.
Very last one, the biggest one of the weekend, 8-9 Colorado, 8-8, could be 9-8, could be 8-9 Calgary. Pretty much winner gets in, loser goes home. It's a massive, massive game to wrap up week 21 and the final home game, or the final regular season game in this season for the NL.
I think Colorado is a little bit lucky in this one that Calgary is playing back-to-back this weekend, and they have to go away and then home. Obviously, being home, I think, on that second leg of it is better for Calgary. They get to play in their barn, home fans, all that nonsense, but Colorado kind of gets lucky with that they could be tired, and if Colorado brings the energy, they could sneak one out and find their way into playoffs and find their way playing Buffalo, which would be fantastic. So Colorado, go get a win, play Buffalo in the first round. We would love to host you.
So this will conclude this episode. Have a wonderful Easter, Dingus Day. Whenever we talk to you next, hopefully you're celebrating these holidays healthy and enjoying some nicer weather this weekend. And we'll be back on Monday to break down Bandits versus Georgia and break down did a little teaser for our preview for the next show where Buffalo will be facing, and they will know who they're facing in round 1 of the NL playoffs. So that will wrap up this one, and we'll wrap up the Sabres season as well. I guess I had to kind of say that one. But thank you all for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Thank you to Tap That Tap Room, Totally Buffalo Store, and Phrase Flowers for sponsoring this episode and this podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Find Phil's article that dropped on Tuesday. Mine dropped on Thursday. Check out our store on our link tree on our socials or at the shop tab top of the website. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. You can see our beautiful faces, and leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.